Good morning. It is January 3rd, 2019, and I'm back again. Going to talk a little bit about my day yesterday, not much. Went out driving. It really wasn't a great day. Only a couple of rides. One of them was to the airport, though, so that helped. Um, I did okay, not great. I'm up and out to go again today. I've got some time before the next bill, so I'm feeling pretty good, and that's the main goal at this point. Go out, try, do what I can, not fall behind, and I'm succeeding at that. So we're pretty happy. Uh, Today I thought I'd look a little bit into this day in music history. Not the best day, but we got a couple of interesting things. The only event that I was really interested in is that on 1957, Fats Domino recorded "I'm Walking." It's a classic song. Who doesn't like Fats Domino? So that was recorded on this date in 1957. Do have a couple of nice birthdays though. Uh, I put 1296. I'm sure it was 1926. On today, January 3rd, George Martin was born. Sir George Martin. Best known as the producer of the Beatles. And yeah, just as a producer of one band, basically, he got knighted by his country. That's how big the Beatles were, and what a great job George Martin did. If you haven't had a chance yet, check out some of the reissues and remixes. George Martin's son, whose name I forget, is following in his dad's footsteps. He's also a record producer or engineer of some kind, and he's been involved in a couple of projects. I think my favorite might be the Love soundtrack. That was for a Cirque du Soleil show on the Beatles, or using Beatles music. And what young Martin did was remix using only Beatles recorded material. He remixed some of the songs, he smashed a couple together. It was for a show, so as you might expect, the album actually has a really good flow, and it's kind of fun to hear those Beatles recordings in another context. 1945 on this date, Stephen Stills was born. Probably best known as one third of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Next, probably well known for one fourth of Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. And before that, he was in Buffalo Springfield with Neil Young, I believe. Good singer, great voice, and born on this date in 1945. 1946, John Paul Jones. Just a legend. He was a session bass player in England and London throughout the 60s. I know he played on some Donovan songs. I just saw a reference that he sat in with the Stones on some recording sessions. But if you dig into it, he was all over the place over there. Jimmy Page was also working as a studio musician about that same time, and they played on some of the same sessions. But of course, he's best well known as being Jimmy Page's bassist in Led Zeppelin, or maybe Jimmy Page was John Paul Jones's guitarist. Jonesy just sat in that pocket and played some really iconic bass riffs. And if you really want to hear what great bass and rock sounds like, I would recommend probably going to the second Led Zeppelin album, simply called Led Zeppelin 2. And that album was mixed with bass in mind. It's just such a wonderful sound. And lastly, 1909. We're going back to a pretty obscure guy, Victor Borge. Uh, he's a comedian, piano player, lighthearted, silly humor, musical based. And I just remember seeing him on TV a lot when I was a kid, and enjoyed him. All right, well, that's about all I got, and it turns out my battery is dying. So I will be back in the near future to talk to me again. Bye-bye.